Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be comparing two first grade curriculums that are focused on fairy tales and storytelling and show you the major differences and let you know what I picked to use with my son for first grade this year. So the two curriculums that I'm going to be comparing today are the Blossom and Root Level 1, The Stories We Tell, this is the second edition, and But First Fairytales. But First Fairytales is from Where'd You Learn That? And that is Rachel from the Nerdy Homeschooler. That's her curriculum company. But First Fairytales is a year-long curriculum that takes you through a lot of classic tales, but it also has way more than that. This has a whole bunch that goes with it. So not only is it a fairy tale literature and language arts curriculum, this has your Bible, memory work, geography, classic tales, picture books, poetry, chapter books, art, music, everything you could want. So this is just your supplies. You can see how simple this is. This is one sheet and you might need like one thing a week to do the projects that are in this curriculum. Here's your book list. So nice and large. So the chapter books are recommended. They're not actually scheduled in, although she does recommend when you should read the books. You can kind of do what you want with the chapter books. The picture books as well, she's going to give you recommendations, but you can go a little bit off if you can't find them, or you can find them online as read alouds. Here are your spines. Now these spines are only going to be required if you choose to do that actual part of the curriculum, and I'll talk more about the spines afterward. And then Bible. Now, the difference between Blossom and Root is that Blossom and Root is a secular curriculum. This is not, but feel free to take that out if you are not a religious family or you do not want Bible curriculum or you have something else. You can take that out and you just don't have to do those parts. Now, one of my favorite things about Rachel is that she always puts these grids in, and I love these grids. They are so helpful. Now, I don't follow a 5-day-a-week homeschool week because we co-op once a week, so most of our core stuff done at home, I like to do 4 days a week, so I could just kind of mix and match and move things around where I want to, but I love how lovely this is laid out. Now, every segment is going to focus on one part of literature or language arts that she is going to have as the main focus. So this first one is the rule of 3, and you could just automatically think of all of the tales and all of the stories that are going to encompass this one segment, and she really goes in depth with what she wants you to take away from this particular part of the curriculum. So she's going to give you an overview of the segment, she's going to give you your chapter book options, and then you have space if you want to write some things to remember. And then she also includes QR codes and the web page for any of the additional stuff that you might need during this segment. So spoiler alert, I did choose to use this curriculum this year with my first grader as opposed to Blossom and Root, and I'm going to let you know exactly what I'm going to be using from this curriculum. So I am going to be implementing the Bible part. I loved the Kingdom of God Storybook Bible that she used in her kindergarten curriculum, which was the Curious Kinder. I really loved it. It was beautifully written. The pictures were beautiful. And I really liked the review section at the end of each Bible story that would have questions and a prayer and all that. So we are going to be using her schedule for the Bible time. We are also going to be using some other stuff for religion, but we are definitely using her schedule for the Bible. She also gives memory statement verses for gospel verses. We will not be using this year because we're going to be using something else for that, but she does offer that if you would like to implement it. Next is geography. We are going to be doing geography. We are going to be using her books, but we are also going to be doing something else with geography. So we are not implementing this to a T and we are not going on her schedule, but these books that she recommended, we are still going to be using with our other geography. So if you want to do geography, you're welcome to. The picture book, she gives you one picture book a week, and then you would do your version in the student notebook, and I will show you the student notebook after. We will be using the picture book schedule, and then your tale. So you have one main tale a week or a segment that you will be going over and learning about in depth, and that will help you learn about all the different parts of language arts that you will take away from this curriculum. So you have your tale, and then you have your student notebook pages that you're going to use within your tale. Poetry. She gives you a book of animal poetry, and then you would go through and read one poem a day. And then there's also a story in the Treasury of Children's Literature that you would read that is in that little poetry block of the day. Your chapter book, if you want to do it, you can schedule a time in to do your chapter book. And then she gives you your loop of riches. And one thing about Rachel is she always includes something fun, which is something you might not think about doing, but those little inclusions, she even put it in her playing preschool, are so cute because sometimes we're so focused on getting all the book work done that we don't stop for a second and play and teach our kids little silly things like hide and seek and stuff like that. So I love that she includes that fun Fridays, and you can kind of do that whenever in the week you have some time. Now, for her loop of riches, she is using Slow Down for Nature, which I already have and have always wanted to use, so I'm really, really excited about that. For music, she's doing Music and How It Works, which is a really fun resource, a really nice book. I'm a music teacher, and I think that this is one of the coolest music books that I have seen. It is so beautiful. And then for art, she works with her sisters, and one of them is an artist and is like amazing at art. All of the illustrations are also done by her sister and are absolutely amazing. So she gives little art projects in here throughout. We are also going to be doing artist study and composer study, so that's going to go along with this as well. But I think it is definitely enough if you just wanted to do her art. That would be perfect. And then she does character with the Children's Book of Virtues. So those are her riches. Now, this is not necessarily a scripted type of curriculum, but she does give you your discussion questions, everything that you should really be working toward for the week. Her teaching notes always give so much, and I really love how in-depth it is, and she really goes nice and in-depth. This is But First Fairytales. You would go through all of this stuff. Let me show you the student notebook. I have not yet printed the student notebook, but this is what it looks like. So you want to print this single-sided. And another thing that she does that I really appreciate is she doesn't overly use color in any of her PDFs. They're all very low ink and black and white friendly, so you could print it at home. You don't have to like go ship it off to a printer, and it's really easy to print, really clean. So this is just an example of the student notebook. Look how nicely laid out this is. This is perfect. This is exactly what the most important parts of what she's teaching are. Exactly. This is perfect. This is like a poster I would put in my classroom. This is what they have to remember. This is the takeaway. Here you go. Here's the information. Beautiful. And then you have your little activity. There you go. And then you have your little art activity. And then this is where you would do your story of Goldilocks. So cute. Like, this is so creative. And then these are her little memory end of summary review pages. Now, I'm not going to be using these because, like I said, we're not going to be doing everything in the exact same order that she is. So I'm just going to choose not to print these, and that's not a big deal. But I think this is really nice too if you just wanted to compile a list of all of your summaries, or if you don't remember and you're going on to the next week and you're like, do you remember what we did week 1? Let's turn to our summary page. I love that this is included. That is so great. And it also has all the different like parts of the curriculum. So I really like that this encompasses so many things. I love her book list. I am so excited to use this. I don't think I've ever been more excited for a curriculum than this one. Okay, so now we're gonna look at the Stories We Tell from Blossom and Root. This is a very similar curriculum. This also takes you through fairy tales and classic tales. Now, this has a 4-day week or 5-day week schedule that you can follow. The first half of the curriculum takes you through classic tales, and then the second half takes you through tales from around the world. And this is the same thing where it also is a feast. Now, this gives you the literature, a student notebook, it gives you a book list, and then it has some additional stuff. Now, this is just mainly language arts, and then there's a sprinkling of geography in here as well. Again, the tales take you around the world. This loosely takes you around the world as well in the second half of the curriculum. Now, this has a lot of enrichment for storytelling. You can make a storytelling basket. You can make storytelling stones. You can do a lot of like puppeting and narration. This is very heavily based on like the child actually retelling the story. As you can see, I scribbled all over here because I was trying to match up like what movies I was going to do, and I was also trying to line up what gentle and classical primer week I was going to do with my younger son, because a lot of the stories overlap. But as you can see, she gives you recommended readings, but then there's so many alternatives if you can't find them at your library, or if you can't find them online, or if you don't like some of the subject matter and you want to do something else. There are a ton of books. You can really use whatever you want. And then here's the focus. So again, we have the Tell It in 3. It's a lot of the same stuff as the other one, but that's exactly what you're supposed to take from these classic tales. So here's everything, and then once you get to the end of the unit, you have your tales around the world, which you could change if you want to. Let's say your heritage is from another country and you wanted to specifically focus on tales from that country to bring that in, you could definitely do that. So this is a little bit more open-ended over here. She gives you some optional early readers that you could also do for extra reading. This is your like outline of your main books for this unit. Here's more optional. There are so many books and supplements that they give you. Again, this is a feast. Now here are your supplies. If you really wanted to go in and do the storytelling basket, you are going to need a lot of stuff. Your supply list is really ginormous, and it's a lot of like craft store stuff. It's not just stuff around the house. Like there's a lot in here, and you need to take a lot of time to make these crafts and the little peg dolls that they want you to make for the storytelling basket. I just know my son, and he is not going to sit there and take the time it's going to need to make these beautiful peg dolls to be able to tell the stories for the storytelling basket. That should have been my first red flag about this particular curriculum fitting for our family, but I still continued to buy it because I really wanted to do it, because I really, really wanted to have a year of classic tales. So again, this is more about the storytelling basket, and you can see how elaborate this is. I don't have any space for this. I know my son is not going to love this, but some crafty kids are really going to love this, and I think that is the main takeaway from this curriculum, is that it is very crafty. Now, this also is a secular curriculum, so you will not have that Bible time. And the other thing that this curriculum has that the other one does not is it does have the wordplay, phonics kind of reading element in here. Do I think it's enough for a full reading curriculum? No, I would never use it as a full reading curriculum. Now, my first grader is a fluent reader. We have finished All About Reading Level 1 and 2 before he had his kindergarten year, and he is fluently reading. He does not really struggle at all in the reading department. So if we were going to do this curriculum, we were going to skip the wordplay entirely, and we were going to skip the reading word lists because he just doesn't need that. We were going to do the literature selections and the project, but we weren't going to do the storytelling basket. So we were probably going to do the extra project that's optional in lieu of the storytelling basket and the sequencing stones and all of that. We were going to do the student notebook, but then upon looking at it, I was like, this is a little bit lackluster for me. It was just very much dictation, like they were going to just tell you what they thought about the story. There were small prompts, but not enough for me personally for them to get the main idea of exactly what I was teaching. There were not really many discussion questions in here. It was just feel free to extend the theme. And it was just that. Like every week had the same format: optional copywork, optional journal prompt, optional poetry. Now the poetry here was a mini poem, which was basically like those poem tiles that we used to do, like the magnetic poem tiles, and it would give you a couple words that you would like fit in to make poetry, but you weren't actually reading poetry. So I will show you the student notebook so you can see what the format of this is, but each week follows the same format. You have your language arts stuff, your reading that I was going to skip. You read your book, and then you do your 4 days of the student notebook. So here is that student notebook. And like I said, each week would follow the same thing. So you would have your literature journal where you would read a picture and then answer your question. And the parents were meant to transcribe the answer. So they would tell us and we would just write it. And I was like, I don't really love that because I want him to practice his writing. Same thing, retell the story. Okay, here's your word list. We were going to skip that. This was just to read. And this was your mini poem. So it had the words that you would cut out and just pop it into the poem. And then here is your copy work. They pulled and tugged at the turnip, and you would just copy that. And that was every week. You have your journal that the parents would transcribe. Your narration, they would retell the story. Your word list and your poem. And followed the same thing. Now, I think that's fine if you really just want to dive into the books and that's really, all you want to get from it, and you really were going to do that storytelling basket. But I feel like if you're going to do the storytelling basket, why do you need a student workbook page about narration where they're going to narrate it? I feel like the only point of this whole curriculum was just to retell the story. It didn't really give me that much language arts focus as much as But First Fairytales did. I feel like But First Fairytales really nails it. I like the concrete, evidence-based, this is what we're learning, this is our takeaway, and yada, yada, yada. I really like that. I think this, for a more crafty kid, would be perfect. So that's why I am choosing But First Fairytales this year over the Blossom and Root. The student notebook looks amazing. The artwork, the projects, the music recommendations, the geography, the Bible, this has everything. This has my whole year planned out so nicely with all of the information that I know he's going to be getting, and I feel like we're really going to take a lot away from it. This is a lot more open-ended. Again, they give you a feast, you choose what you want. So let me know, which one would you pick? What do you think your family would like better? I'm super excited for But First Fairytales, but if you loved Blossom and Root and you did this curriculum and you really loved it, let me know. What am I missing? What do I feel like it's lacking? Like, how did you do it and did it work for your family? I would love to know. So let me know if there's any other curriculums that you want me to compare. If you want to see a flip through of anything, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.